This is a public service announcement brought to you by the Foundation for Ponytails and Cream Cheese, the Dumbfucks Foundation of Ignorance, the Ignorant Masses, and the Quantum Stellar Channel. Thank you.
I'm leaning on solid sources like historians and archaeological records, but I'll call out shaky claims with a wink. Let's dive in. Pornocracy in ancient Greece. Pornography and pleasure in ancient Greece. Hey folks, let's take a stroll back to ancient Greece, where things got a little wilder than your average toga party. We're talking about how the Greeks handled pornography, some spicy coin rumors, temple prostitutes, and yeah, the grim reality of sex slaves. It's a mixed bag of fascinating and kind of messed up stuff, so buckle up for a tale that's equal parts eye-opening and eyebrow-raising, the Greek take on naughty art. So, picture this. You're wandering through Athens around 500 BCE, and everywhere you look, there's art that's not exactly family-friendly. The Greeks were all about celebrating the human body, and they weren't shy about it. Pottery, vases, you name it, they'd slap on scenes of folks getting frisky. Think red figure vases with couples in all sorts of positions, or statues of gods like Pan chasing nymphs with a gleam in their eye. This wasn't hidden in some shady back room either. It was out in the open, decorating homes, symposiums, even temples. Historians like Sarah Pomeroy note that erotic art was just part of the vibe, tied to fertility and the gods, not some secret guilty pleasure. Now, was this pornography as we know it? Not quite. The Greeks didn't have a word for porn in the modern sense. Their art was more about life, love, and sometimes lust, all mixed together. You'd see a vase with a naked hetera, that's a high-class courtesan, pouring wine at a party, and it was less about scandal and more about, well, aesthetics. But let's not kid ourselves. Those symposiums where men drank and debated philosophy. Yeah, they weren't just admiring the brush strokes. It's Greece, not a monastery. The coin controversy. Okay, let's tackle this juicy rumor about coins. There's a story floating around that Greeks minted coins with, get this, a young girl's private parts, drawn like a Y shape, bald as a baby's bottom, to use as tokens for temple prostitutes. Sounds like something you'd whisper about at a bar, right? Here's the deal. I dug through every source I could find, from Strabo to modern archaeologists, and there's no solid evidence of coins like that. Zip. Nada. The closest you get are coins with Aphrodite, goddess of love, sometimes shown half naked, but it's more classy than crude. Like a tasteful side boob, not a gynecological sketch. Could there have been some sketchy tokens for brothels? Maybe. Some scholarsmen lead tokens from Athens with phalluses or vague female figures, possibly tied to sex trade spots, but nothing screaming Y-shaped anatomy. The idea of buying temple access with a coin like that, it's more myth than fact. Probably cooked up by someone who heard one too many sailor stories. Oh, and if they did exist, imagine the minter's job. Poor guy, chaseling tiny bits all day, hoping nobody asks what he does for a living. Temple prostitutes, fact or fiction? Now let's talk about those temple prostitutes, since that's where the coin story usually points. The big name here is Corinth, home to a temple of Aphrodite that was supposedly party central. Ancient writer Strabo, who loved a good tale, claimed around 20 BCE that the temple had over 1,000 sacred prostitutes, donated by rich folks to serve the goddess. Sailors, merchants, you name it, they'd climb the Acrocorinth hill, wallets ready to worship. Fees reportedly hit 1,000 drachmas, which was like a year's wages for a laborer. Talk about devotion. Occasionally. But here's the kicker. Historians like Stephanie Budden throw shade on this. They argue Strabo was exaggerating, maybe to make Corinth sound like the Vegas of Greece. Archaeological digs show the temple was too small for 1,000 workers, more like a dozen tops. Still, some women called hierodules did work there, likely slaves or low-class girls, aged teens to early 20s, say 15 to 25. Their customers, mostly men, from young bucks in their late teens to grizzled captains in their 50s, anyone with coin to spare. Corinth was a port, so you had Greeks, Persians, even Egyptians dropping by. Diversity ancient style. The job wasn't glamorous. These women were often stuck, owned by the temple, praying and burning incense when they weren't, well, busy. And no, they weren't all young virgins. That's another myth. Some were older, scraping by. It's less sacred romance and more a sad hustle, propped up by a society that saw women as property half the time. The dark side, sex slavery. Speaking of property, let's get real about sex slaves, because this is where it gets heavy. In ancient Greece, slavery was everywhere, and sex work was no exception. Most prostitutes, called pornai, were slaves, often foreigners from places like Asia Minor or Thrace. Girls as young as 12 could be bought, though 15 to 18 was more common, based on texts like Xenophon's accounts. They'd fetch about 300 to 500 drachmas at market, roughly a skilled worker's yearly pay. Once owned, they were yours until you sold them, freed them, or they died, which could be 10, 20 years, depending on health and luck. Owners, usually men but sometimes madams, ran brothels or rented them out. The girls worked grimy spots in Piraeus or Keramikos, serving anyone from dock workers to elite politicians, ages 18 to 16, life expectancy, not great. Medical texts from Hippocrates hint at rough conditions, with disease and pregnancy risks high. Some owners trained daughters to take over, keeping the cycle going. It's a brutal system, and no amount of Aphrodite worship sugarcoats it. Makes you wonder who the real devotees were, the workers or the guys keeping the profits. 10 things you didn't need to know about Greek sex work. Alright, let's lighten the mood with a list, because who doesn't love a countdown? Here's 10 tidbits about the sex trade in ancient Greece, some quirkier than others. Number 1 is, brothels were legal. Thanks to Solon in Athens, around 590 BCE, state-run spots kept things tidy, or so they thought. Number 2 is, taxes were a thing. Prostitutes paid up, and the cash built temples. Nothing says sacred like a good IRS. Number 3 is, hetarai were the rock stars. These educated ladies picked their clients and lived better than most. Good for them. Number 4 is, men weren't left out. Young guys, often teens, worked as prostitutes too. No beard required. Number 5 is, pottery was their billboard. Want to know what sold? Check the vases. It's all there in clay. Number 6 is, Aphrodite got all the credit. Love goddess, sure, but also patron of every shady deal in Corinth. Number 7 is, coins were boring. Sorry, no Y-shaped art. Just owls and gods, keeping it PG. Number 8 is, slaves had no say. Most pornai were owned. No choice in the matter. Freedom was a pipe dream. Number 9 is, customers were everybody. From broke sailors to rich poets, everyone showed up eventually. Number 10 is, it wasn't all sexy. Disease, violence, you name it, the life was rougher than the art makes it look. Closing thoughts. So, there you have it, ancient Greece in all its complicated glory. They loved their erotic art, plastered it everywhere, but those wild coin stories, probably just gossip gone wild. Temple prostitutes existed, sure, but not in the thousands, and they were more trapped than empowered. As for sex slaves, it's a grim reminder that behind the pretty vases was a system that chewed people up. It's kind of a bummer to think about, but it makes you appreciate the art a bit more knowing what it hid. Next time you see a Greek statue, maybe give it a nod for surviving the chaos. Until then, stay curious. And maybe don't try minting any weird coins yourself. It's a pornocracy we live in, so live accordingly, and thanks for watching here at Quantum Stellar.